Goodbye endless trips to the pharmacy, and hello MedSync. All your meds ready for one monthly pickup with no hassle. Give James Drugstore a call to get started.
And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Group Therapy. It's a chance where I get to sit down with these two gentlemen, fellow editors here at the news, and we talk about everything that's going on in Livingston Parish over the past week. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves for this particular episode. It's episode 12. Man, we're a little more consistent this year than we were last year. So we're going to start on the viewers left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
All right. And so first and foremost, we're going to start with Rob because we're recording this in the afternoon on Wednesday because you had a rain out. We haven't had a lot of rain outs this year, which is crazy because that's not typical South Louisiana for baseball and softball. But you had a rain out yesterday. Live Oak and Denham make up that game this morning, and it was pretty heavily Live Oak.
I guess if you're going to rain out, do it big time. So that's exactly what happened yesterday. Literally they moved the game time up to 4. Got through taking infield, and literally went into a lightning delay about 10 minutes before the game was supposed to start. Never got played, so they moved it to 10 o'clock this morning, which I called it baseball and breakfast, which is pretty cool to kind of go out there in the morning. The kids are out of school on break right now, and it was 8-0. Live Oak gets the win. They put together a 5-run third, kind of bunched up some hits, 2 through 5 spots. I think each one of those guys had 2 hits in the order for them. At one point, it looked like Denham might scratch across a couple runs. It looked like they had 2, but just one of those plays where your lead runner goes into second, does not slide, so he's automatically out, and so the runner at first was called out. It was a double play to end the inning, something you don't see all the time. So those runs didn't count. So it wound up being 8-0. Coach Cassard called that inning probably one of the best innings they probably played this season in terms of what all they were able to do in terms of walks and laying down bunts and things like that, and making things kind of work for them. They've kind of turned some things around. I think they started 0-4 in district play, so this is kind of a kind of springboard for them. And then for Denham, Coach Hopkins was kind of like, we've got a week and a half left to go, and let's see what the guys can do in that week and a half.
Sure. So, and real quick, we don't have them yet, but softball pairings are going to be coming out. It's that time. And right now you've got about 7 teams pegged as a lock.
That's
correct.
What it looks like. And
walk us through that real quick.
Some teams are still, as a matter of fact, they're playing now. I think Denham had moved their game over to Live Oak this afternoon when I was leaving. I think they were playing. But right now what we're looking at, and these are from Go Preps, which are pretty accurate. Walker's a number 3 right now. Live Oak's a number 7 in 5A. Albany at number 10 in 3A. 2A has Doyle at number 4, French Settlement number 10, Springfield at 15, and Holden is the top seed in Class B.
Right. So that's a lot of home games looking over there. That's all first round home games.
That would all be home games for all of those if that holds the chalk.
Man, that's pretty crazy that Walker's a third. Watching them this season, who are the 2 teams better than them?
Just pretty consistent. I don't even remember.
Okay.
I don't. I go in there and I get tunnel vision.
Sure. I know that's an on the spot question,
yeah,
but
you literally put me on the spot.
We've talked about them several times this year, and they've just played really good softball.
Really consistent. Live Oak's done well as well. Just really consistent in what they're doing. And you get Live Oak and Holden, Walker and Holden played yesterday, and Walker wound up winning that one 3-2. So got a little playoff preview, I guess, for those.
Wow. Class B Holden going and taking Walker to the wire.
It was 3-2, and I want to say, if I remember right, it was a hit batter with the bases loaded to push across that winning run. If I remember correctly,
came down to it.
That was really early this morning when I wrote that story. David was out there taking pictures for me. So
gotcha. Well, let's jump over to David real quick. We're going to come back to Rob. Sure. Rob's got some interesting stuff to talk about, especially with regard to gymnastics. So stay tuned for that. But going over to David, first and foremost, I want to talk about your lifestyle feature. I think this was really important. It's a terrible story. It's very tragic, but out of tragedy in a lot of instances, some real hopeful things are born. So tell us a little bit about your lifestyle feature this week.
Yeah, the feature this week was on an organization called the Gray's Army Foundation that just got started a few months ago. It's named in honor of Grayson Temple, who was a Live Oak student. He passed away in December of last year after going into sudden cardiac arrest, and his family has basically made it their mission to sort of spread awareness for sudden cardiac arrest and for people to be on the lookout for symptoms and to do heart screenings and all kinds of stuff, because they, after he passed, they did some genetic testing and they learned that he was actually genetically predisposed to that. He had heart issues in his family. I believe a grandfather who actually died from heart issues in the early 70s. So that's kind of the focus of this organization, and they actually are working with Representative Valerie Hodges' office on a bill, House Bill 400, I believe, that would require instruction in high schools on sudden cardiac arrest, the symptoms, and ways to combat it. And she's also not Miss Hodges, but Michelle Temple, Grayson's mother, is also trying to make coaches require coaches through legislation to have to take classes on those issues, and to basically prevent them from sticking a player back in who's showing signs of that, because she said obviously student athletes, which Grayson was. He was a student athlete. He was 6'3", 230 pounds, big boy. I mean, very active. The picture of health is how she described him, and it happened to him. So it's really just about being on the lookout for those symptoms and signs. And the Live Oak and Denham Springs High are two high schools in Livingston Parish that are part of this foundation in the greater Baton Rouge area that gives free heart screenings to their student athletes during their physicals. So it's really just about spread. It's kind of similar to this situation with Remy Hidalgo. We all know him, the boy who passed away a couple years ago, or excuse me, a little more than 1 year ago, a year and a half ago, I guess it is now. It's just about raising awareness in student athletes, and, students in general, but especially student athletes who, have who are more exposed to these issues, just to, prevent another tragedy from happening.
Sure. So, and I mean, awareness is always important for anything, any kind of health related issue. It's always important to be constantly aware.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, he had a predisposition for it, and nobody ever knew until it was unfortunately too late. So let's hope that foundation is able to help prevent those things in the future. So jumping over to the news side of things, we're going to bounce through some of this real quick, but the one I don't want you to bounce through is I believe it is the North Corbin principal is currently a semifinalist for Principal of the Year in the state. So tell us a little bit about her.
Yes, Carolyn Wilkinson, the principal of North Corbin Junior High, was named a semifinalist, one of 24 semifinalists for Louisiana Principal of the Year. She was the district's middle school Principal of the Year. It's actually the second time she's won that award in the last few years. At North Corbin Junior, I mean, the academic standards, they meet all that. But one of the things that she's done that is unique is she implemented a few years ago the house system into North Corbin Junior High, which for people who love Harry Potter like myself, you know what the house system is: Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff. You know what that is.
Don't forget Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw, that was the other. God, I drew a blank and I didn't want to.
You got to get them all in there.
There we
That's
go.
why I worked it.
There we go. I appreciate it. So North Corbin Junior High a few years ago, they incorporated the house system. So students are divided into 6 houses, and basically it's just like it is in Harry Potter. They compete for points throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, the winning house gets the house cup. Bragging rights, all that stuff. It's actually, even though people know it from Harry Potter, she said that it was based on Ron Clark, who was a Disney Teacher of the Year winner a few years ago, who incorporated this at his school. And I mean, from what she said, they've seen dividends from this. I mean, it raises school spirit, student engagement, social skills, because you're with students who you wouldn't normally be with, and you're with students of different grade levels. So, I mean, especially for the older kids, they get to act sort of as mentors for the younger ones. So I mean, that's really what she's known for at that school. I mean, aside from the academic standards, which, Livingston Parish as a whole is, pretty high in the state. So I believe the teacher and principal of the year banquet is in the summer in New Orleans this year. It's been virtual the last couple of years, but so we'll find out if and it's actually the 4th straight year that a Livingston Parish principal has at least been named a semifinalist. 2 of those were named finalists, so we'll wait to see if she gets that too.
Yeah, and what an interesting system the house system is, and that it's pretty cool. Like you said, it gets kids involved in their own school.
Yeah,
it's not just a place where you go to get educated. So, and let's cap the rest of this off here. First and foremost, we did have Parish Councilman Tracy Girlinghouse in the booth last week. We hope you watched that. We talked about redistricting and zoning. Of course, the story about redistricting was in this Thursday's paper. Really, the biggest overview of that is that District 8 and 9 grew because most of the growth is coming to Districts 1 through 7. So tell us a little bit about what we learned about redistricting, which is, I believe, a requirement every 10 years post census.
Yes, it's just to it's a requirement after the census just to make up for basically population changes. This year in this census, the majority of the changes occurred in the districts that are south of the interstate, which, yes, that would be 9 and 8 and also 6 and parts of 5. The biggest district before redistricting, God, that's going to be a tongue twister, was District 6. And that's where, that's the Port Vincent, Fritz Settlement area. A lot of District 6 went into District 8. Because District 8 was the least populated before redistricting was done. God, that's gonna get me. So yeah, I mean, but it's just a numbers game. I spoke with Councilman Jeff Ard after, and he was one of the ones that really were on top of this process, and it's just a numbers game. Livingston Parish had one of the biggest growth spurts in the last census of all Louisiana parishes. I believe it was the 7th fastest growing, and it grew by about 14,000 people. And that growth is random. It happens in different places. So there were some districts that weren't really changed. You mentioned Mr. Girlinghouse. His district had 15,400 people before they changed it, and it had 15,400 people after they changed it. So he had basically his stayed the same. There was a few others that had some minor changes. Jeff Ard mentioned how him and Mr. Talbert, who's the Watson area, they kind of just had one swap to make their numbers match, since they and a lot of the changes are the ones that are on the borders. So it's really just to make the numbers work out. And but District 6, Gerald McMorris, he will no longer be able to run for the district seat. District 6 seat. There we go.
There it is.
It's a lot of tongue twisters.
A lot of S's, a lot of T's.
So he represents District 6 right now. He will not be able to represent that district in the next election. So I mean, it's just it doesn't change where people are voting. It just changes who you might vote for. Essentially, that's the bottom line. Like I said, most of the changes were in the district south of the interstate.
Sure, and it's important to note, part of the reason for that consolidation of District 6 is because the west side of District 6 encompasses Walker South, which of course has seen a huge growth in population as of late. So that's, and Mr. Gerald is from the Coyell area.
Yes, his house, he showed me the map. It's one of those that are right on the border, and then they had to make the numbers match, and so it just went over, and then he got absorbed into 8, so he would be running for Rainey DeLatte's seat, in the next election.
Sure.
If
Okay.
he chooses to run again.
Sure. There is that.
That one caveat.
One last thing I want to talk about, which was interesting, very tragic and awful accident. These 18-wheeler accidents seem to be happening all too often on I-10 and 12. This particular one was on I-12 near Albany, I believe.
Near the parish, Livingston Tangipahoa parish line.
Right, and a toddler passed away.
Yes.
That driver has been arrested, and we learned a little bit about him.
Yes, I mean he was arrested. Not much necessarily about him per se, but I mean he is being charged with one charge of negligent homicide, one charge of reckless operation of a motor vehicle. He's a 60-year-old truck driver from Chicago, Illinois, and I mean from what the police report said, he basically just there was traffic in front of him and he failed to stop, and those 18-wheelers cannot stop all of a sudden. It's kind of like we had a train, not a derailment, but you had a dump truck in Holden that got hit by a train. That was yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah. So, I mean, those big, I mean, obviously, 18-wheeler is not near the size of a train, but it's the same principle. Those big 18-wheelers, all that weight behind them, cannot stop all of a sudden. So, that's what they're saying happened, that he just failed to stop when traffic was stopped in front of him, and a toddler was in a car seat in the back seat, and unfortunately that toddler, 18 months from Baton Rouge, passed away in that. So he was arrested shortly after. They did toxicology samples like they normally do, but they haven't released the results of that. But yeah, I mean, traffic that day was terrible. I mean, at one point it got to 12 miles on I-12. So, I mean, it was I-12 eastbound going toward Tangipahoa Parish. So, yeah, just another tragic situation.
Yeah. Very sad. So, Rob, David, thank you.
Yes.
Rob, we're going to jump back over to you to wrap this up. We're going to talk about something that I don't think we've ever talked about before, which is gymnastics. You brought this up when we were kind of talking pre-podcast about what we were going to talk about. Specifically, an individual who participated in his first LHSAA meet.
Correct.
And brought the heat.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Wasn't messing around. Cody Midbow from Walker. He won the all-around title at the gymnastics meet over the weekend. I believe the boys competed on Friday. He takes first in all but 2 events, and in those 2 events he was second. So he just kind of ran away with it. The other part of it is Walker placed 5th as a team, and he was the only competitor from Walker in the boys division there. So I just kind of asked him, how do you feel, man? He's like, it feels great to win anything, and to be able to do that. I said, okay, what do you do now? He said, well, I got to bring better stuff next year.
Right.
So he's already in the mode of preparing for next year and getting prepared for. But that's just, I mean, to see that, it's just an amazing feat to be able to do that. Place 5th, and some of these other schools had multiple competitors, and he did that on his own to place 5th by himself.
That is impressive, heavily impressive. So congratulations to that young man for his success. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to let these two introduce themselves, and we're going to switch it up. We're going to start on the viewers' right.
Hey, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you all out there again joining us for the Livingston Parish News weekly show. This is Group Therapy. It's a time when I get to sit down with these two gentlemen and we get to talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. Thanks one more time for joining us, and we will see you next time.